Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Sarah. In today's video, we are going to talk about, can you still, in 2024, live off or equal to 1,000 US dollars per month here in Colombia? I live about 3 hours outside of Medellin in a small pueblo. The question is, can you live in Colombia for 1,000 US dollars a month or less? And I'm just going to tell you the answer is 100% yes. The thing is, you have to be willing to get outside of the big cities and go to other places to find that you can live. And let me tell you, the lifestyle and the benefit and the higher quality of life you have living outside of a major city, to me, is worth it. It's way better. I have not lived in a city since I stayed in cities. I stayed in Medellin for about a month last year, but other than that, I don't live in cities since I left Los Angeles about 6 years ago. So with that said, I also think that you can do it living in Medellin, but you have to get outside the tourist bubbles, because if you just go to stay in one or two places, it's really expensive right now, and inflation has hit Colombia quite hard, especially in the big cities. But I don't talk about big cities, I talk about living in little pueblos, and I have traveled to a bunch of them, and I have noticed the cost of living is relatively the same as it is in my pueblo. In my pueblo, it's actually a little bit more expensive than in other towns around Colombia. So this is a bit of a more expensive area, so I'm going to cover exactly how much things cost, and just to prove to you that you still can live for less than, I live for less than $1,000 a month. And in my list of things, I have included things that I do not buy or I do not have to pay for, just to give you an idea. So let's go. I did a video recently of how much food costs, so I will link it in one of these corners so you can go and see how much the price of food is here in a small pueblo versus where you live in Europe or the US. But my average food budget for the month is between $250 and $300 US dollars. Here where I live, we also have really high-speed internet. We have Starlink internet, which costs $57 US dollars per month. Of course, that was after the cost of actually buying the satellite, which costs $750, but that was an upfront investment. So, we're just gonna do recurring costs in this video. So Starlink here in Colombia, $57 US dollars for amazing, super fast. I can upload a video within like an hour, which is way better than in town. You can get internet in town. It's gonna be like around $30 if you have the basic plan that they offer here in town. Health insurance for a foreigner is $34 US dollars per month, and that is private insurance, because here you have to pay for the more premium insurance, which is $34 a month. I estimated the electric because where I live we have not gotten a bill yet, but the previous owner told us how much it would cost. So our electric bill will be $13.85 a month. Also water, I'm estimating because I have a spring on my farm, so we don't pay for water, but if you live in rural Colombia and you have to pay for water, it will cost you about $2.30 per month. The biggest question I get is, how much does it cost to rent an apartment or a house in a pueblo here in Colombia? And like I said, this town that I live in is a bit more pricey than other pueblos because it is a heritage town and it is in Antioquia and it is pretty close to Medellin. However, if you are looking to rent an apartment in this town, which is, like I said, a little bit more expensive, it is a heritage town, it is very well preserved, protected, and safe, it will cost you around $200 US dollars per month. And that is for an apartment in the city center, pueblo center of a really nice town. If you are going to rent a place like where I live or somewhere further out, it will be even cheaper, because here in Colombia, when you live in the rural areas, all your prices drop. It's just like if you live in Medellin, they do stratas, I think, stratas. They do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, I am not sure. But here, they also have like the different type of the zones, But then there's a special zone for rural. So anytime it says rural, your prices get slashed dramatically in half. So I don't know how much a house would be, but I can tell you I used to live in San Carlos de Antioquia, which was about 4 hours from Medellin on the other side of where I live now. And I had a house, 3-bedroom house, on like a quarter of a lot, a quarter acre. And it cost me $64 a month. So maybe now with inflation it would be $85, but it will still be very inexpensive. I think here if you want to rent a house, it would probably cost you maybe around $100 or $150, but I'm not sure because most people here either rent to the houses or they live in the houses for free and they take care of the land. That is something very common here in the countryside of Colombia, that people will be living in the house for years. It's like their full-time home, their residence, but it's actually not their home. They care for the land, like cuida la tierra. They take care of the land for the original owners. I don't know. I know like a bunch of people down this way who live near me. That's what they're doing. Like they don't pay rent. They just pay for the utilities, which are very, very minimal. Because most of us here have a spring, so we don't pay for water. And the internet is way cheaper as well. We have a motorcycle, so the average price of our gas per month is around $7 per month. We do not have gas that comes into our house from the town. We actually buy like pipette, like in the US we call them like propane tanks. So we buy that and it lasts between 2 to 3 months. For that we pay $20 for the propane tank. If you need a phone plan and a SIM card, it will cost you about $10 per month if you want to charge up your data per month. But here I use only Wi-Fi, and in town I just hook up to everybody's Wi-Fi because a lot of restaurants have free Wi-Fi. But then if you want data, you can just buy a SIM card. So in total, including rent, food, this is like bare bones basic because I don't know what else you want to spend your money on, but this is just for essential items. That comes to $594. Well, in my math, I think I estimated when I'm telling you, but between $594 and $600, let's say. So that is less than $1,000 per month. So you will have an extra $400 to spend on activities, going out, eating at restaurants. Maybe you spend more on food than I do, but the $300 that I did for food is for a house of 3 people and 2 dogs. So that is a pretty big budget. If it was just me, I would probably spend like $100, $150. So this is already buffered in for a large family. Well, not large family, but with the dogs, large family. So you will still have $400 if you want to go traveling. So a bus to Medellin from here is about $6. Yeah, and if you want to get around, that's like the average price of a bus, $6 to $8, maybe less if you're going not as far. But you can just take public transportation. You don't need to buy a car here, so you don't have that card, license, registration. But if you do buy a house like I did, you're going to have your yearly taxes. And yearly taxes, I will have to get back to you on that and on how much they will be. The last owner told me that my average taxes for the entire year will be between $100 and $150. Other than that, I'm trying to think, we don't have a movie theater here. We don't have, we go out to eat. The average price of eating out is, I will do a whole video on that, but it's not more than $13, $14 for 2 people. An average coffee is like $2. But I'll do a whole video on prices of eating out as well. But I mean, you could probably spend $400 maybe on that if you eat out like 3 meals a day, every single day. You drink a lot of beer, you go out partying, but there's not really places here to do that. So what else? Yeah, I don't think I forgot anything. I think that's it. I guess for people who still have the question, can I live for less than $1,000 per month in Colombia? The answer is 100% yes. You just have to get out of the major cities if that's something that you're looking for. However, one of the things that happens when people come here, they just assume that everything is super cheap. They go to Medellin, they stay in Poblado, Laureles, and you realize that it's the same price as the US, because rent right there, right now, if you go to rent something, a really nice, like what used to be 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, what used to be $500 is now like $2,000. So the price of places to live in Medellin in those nice, like high upscale, like highest level stratas has significantly increased. With the increase of rent, so does your like utility bills. So everything is like doubled or tripled. And I can tell you that from experience because my friend was living there, and when she first started, her rent was $900, and then slowly it went up to over $2,000 a month. So, and that was last year. So I don't know how much it is now, but it's really expensive in those like high level areas. But you can still find places. This is my point, is you just can't live. I mean, if you want, basically, if you want the same life that you had in the US, like just because it's cheaper, it's not going to be worth it for you. But if you want to come here and you want to live somewhere that has a totally different culture, you want to learn the language, you want to integrate with the people, then, you know, I recommend leaving those bubbles of tourist and expat areas, because there are tons of places to live in Colombia that you can live on a budget, on a very low income. And, you know, you can have, but the thing is, if you want to come here just because you think it's quote unquote cheap, I mean, you're probably going to be miserable, because to live on less than that much money, you're going to have to move to the countryside, or you're going to have to move somewhere that's not like super popular, or you're going to have to be surrounded by people who don't speak your language. So you're going to have to weigh the cons, whether or not that's something you want. But also, there are a lot of other cities in Colombia. There are a lot of other cities that you still can live on for a relatively low budget, if that's something that you're looking for. If you're looking to retire here, 100%. There's a bunch of areas that I love, but if I wanted to live in a big city, I would probably move to either Manizales or Tunja, because I really like both of those cities. They're on complete opposite ends of Colombia, or Pereira or Armenia. They're smaller cities. A lot of people move to Bucaramanga, which is more affordable. I spent about a week there. It was not my favorite city, so I wouldn't move there. But there's areas outside of there, like San Gil. It's a bigger town than where I live, and it's still more economical. So there are a lot of small little pockets of places. Well, actually, almost all of Colombia is like, I guess the only pockets are in Medellin, or in like the really expensive areas of Bogota, or in the really expensive, because you're going to have really expensive areas in every place. But it seems like that people who come here, they want to go to those really expensive places, when you can come somewhere like here and live in nature, or in a pueblo, which is a very upscale pueblo, for less than $1,000 a month. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what you want, and what are your priorities. If you want to be surrounded with people who speak your language, then you're going to have to go to the bubbles of and that's where most people speak English, is going to be in the bubbles, and there's going to be more expensive. But anyway, so just to prove a point that yes, you can live for less than $1,000 a month, showing you all how much things cost here. And if you buy a place, then you get rid of the rent. If you buy in the countryside, then rural area, you slash your cost of living in half. So that is all for my video for today. I will link how much it cost me when I went grocery shopping, and I will do a price of eating out, and I will do another video on what you can find, like how you can find places to live here in the countryside as well, if that is something you're interested in. So thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you all later. Bye.